All right, like I've been saying, this is Mr. Moss's Math Masterminds geometry class, and we got our next few minutes of notes here that we're going to be talking about, and moving on to this wonderful thing called locating points and midpoints. Biggest thing we're going to be talking about today is basically how to take care of and find a midpoint. Okay, midpoint is basically finding the middle of something, median, whatever you want to call it. As the book defines it, the midpoint of a segment is the point halfway between the endpoints of the segment. So we can sit there writing here, halfway point between two endpoints. Okay. So, I mean, a good example here and what we'll show is A and B being the two endpoints, and then we talk about the betweenness of a point. Betweenness between the 2 points is a point, and M is in between, and that's how we define that, okay? Now, a segment bisector. Here's the thing we need to talk about a little bit too. With a segment bisector, bi, as we know, means the number 2. And what we want to do is we want to cut this into 2 sectors, okay? Segment meaning just a part of a line. Therefore, again, a segment is AB as we show here. And we want to bisect it, means it to cut in half, okay? That part of it. And let me see what the book says here. It doesn't really talk. Oh, it says segment bisector. Any segment, line, or plane that intersects a segment at its midpoint is called a segment bisector, okay? Any segment, segment, line, or plane that intersects a segment at its midpoint is called a segment bisector. Okay, so bi means 2, sector means to cut it in 2 pieces, so we're basically cutting it in half. So here's our midpoint formula. Let's check this out here. Let's go a different color. The way I like to show this thing is if we wanted to do this, this is the formula. If you circle it, this is what we want to do. So we want to label, even if it's on a number line or even on a graph or whatever it may be, it tells us that we want to be able to cut this in half for this point. Okay, so say for instance, let's say we'll say A is at -5, okay? And we sit there and say that this is at 4, okay? And this is on a number line. So we're going to take these two numbers, and what does it say we want to do to them? We want to add them together and divide by 2. So another way to think about this is called the average. You've heard the average. When we take the number of items, we add them up, and we divide by those number of items we have. In this case, we have 2 items, so we add them up, and then we divide by 2. So all we're pretty much doing is going -5 plus 4, and then we're dividing by 2. Okay? So in this case, -5 plus 4 is -1. Divide that by 2. So our midpoint would be at either -1/2, or in decimal version it would be 0.5. Okay? So I hope that gives you a general idea of what we're wanting to do for that one. Now, let's go ahead and throw in a word problem here as we talk this together. Now, interesting thing here, and you got to be very, very careful, and the subtle hint that I want to give you is notice that we're going to hang a picture on the wall, but it's going to be a certain distance away from whatever the other wall is that is in the house. Okay, does that make sense? It's saying what we need to do is label these spots, as it says in here. Jessica hangs a picture 15 inches from the left side of the wall. That's a hint. So we know that this thing from here, from this wall all the way to A, is going to be 15 inches. So I would label that on there. how far from the edge of the wall would she mark the location for the nail? For the nail picture will hang on at the right side, on the right edge if it's 37 inches. So this part is 37 inches from the left side. So way over here again, and we measure, let's do it in a different color. So now let's take this one, and we're talking about the distance from here all the way to B is 37.5. So here's our thing. So we're going back up to our equation. We're going to label this one probably as our x1. We're going to label this one as our, we'll call this one x2. Okay? So we're basically going to take those two and we're going to add them up. So here we go. So we take 15 inches from the wall, and then the other part, the other edge of the picture is 37.5 inches from the wall, and we're going to divide that by 2. So let's get our calculator out, and we're going to get something to talk about 52.5. Is that what it is? Let's check it out. Let's go 15 plus 37.5 equals 52.5. So we get 52.5, and we divide that by 2. And then we sit there and go, okay, I'm going to hit divide by 2. Gives us an answer of 26.25 inches. So that's where we're going to hang the wall. So if we take a tape measure and we're going to sit there and go here, we're going to measure over with the tape measure 26.25 so that we get the center of wherever that place is for that picture to hang, so we hang it nice and even from that part of the wall. Okay, any questions on that part? Okay, now your turn. So I would like you to try to do this one on your own. It has something here. Let's read through the problem first. Okay, Tony places a couch, so same concept, but now we're not doing with pictures, but a couch. And it says so that the end is perpendicular and 2.5 feet from the wall. Okay, so you're talking about your wall. So I draw a picture. So I put a a straight line over here. Draw a little mini couch of some kind and label it as 2.5. The couch is 90 inches wide. Okay. So here's some interesting thing here, and I give you a subtle hint as to what needs to do. Okay, how far is the midpoint of the couch back from the wall or in feet? Here's a hint. 1 foot equals 12 inches because our first one, as you can see, is labeled in feet. Second one is labeled in inches. So your job first is to convert them, both of them to inches or both of them to feet, if that's the case. I'm the type of person I would probably convert my feet to inches and then convert back to feet as my final answer if that's the case. Okay, so there's a subtle hint on that for you to get that idea. All right. Have fun. Check it out. I'll be drawing pictures and sending them to you, uploading them online if you choose to. But let's go ahead and go to the next page here. Now, what happens if now we're on a graph? Okay, and this kind of goes back again to when we were doing Pythagorean theorem on a graph too. As you can see again, this is all I'm going to circle right here because I don't want to really write anything over here. This gives you the page number in the book that shows you it. But this is the formula you're going to need. Okay. Again, labeling x1 and y1 as your first point. Notice I did it on the far left like I always do. Okay. And then label the second one, which is on the far right, as x2 and y2. So we're going to be doing, again, adding our x's up and dividing by 2. Adding up our y's and dividing by 2. So let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Now, because we don't have a graph, any graph and paper to do this, I'm going to show you how to do it again like I like to do. It's called the stack method, okay? You can do it. I'm going to show both ways, but I'm going to show you the stack method first, then I'm going to show you the way that they showed up above. So let's go ahead and take -6 and comma 3. Okay, and then we're going to take the second point and we're going to put it just right underneath it, which is 1, comma 0. I forgot to put the other one in parentheses. Okay, and what are we going to do now? We're going to go ahead and add these up just like we did before. So negative 6 and 1 add up to be a negative 5. Okay? And then 3 added to 0 is going to be 3. Okay? But we're not done yet. Once we've added them up, there's one thing we still have left to do. And that's we have to, because like we did in the formula, since we added them up already, we have to divide by 2. Okay, so we're going to divide by 2. So we're going to put a 2 underneath this one and a 2 under that one. That pen didn't work too well on that whole thing. I'm sorry. Okay, so we won't use that yellow one again. So once we do that, we're going to take our wonderful calculator, right? And we're going to clear it out of there. We're going to go negative 5. We're going to negative 5. We're going to divide by 2, which gives us what? Negative. So our value is going to be negative 2.5, right? And then we'll do the same thing to the second one, which is 3 divided by 2, which gives us 1.5. And this is our answer. This is our midpoint. Okay? So let's do the same thing we use in the method that they showed up here. So if we want to do this, let's go ahead and label this as x1, y1, and x2, y2. Same scenario, so we're going to take our x's, so I'm going to underline them, and I'm going to add them up, which is negative 6 plus 1. I'm going to divide that by 2. We're going to do the same thing to the y's now, which is 3 and 0. We're going to go 3 plus 0 and divide by 2. So again, negative 6 plus 1 is going to give us a negative 5 over 2. 3 plus 0 is going to give us 3 over 2. And then that's our answer so far. If we wanted to put them in parentheses with a comma in between, and does it match this thing over here? It does. We're going to get negative 2.5 and positive 1.5 is our final answer. And I'm not sure how the book does it or whatever it may be. Sometimes they have you leave it in just this form or in this form. They may ask you to do it too. So whatever works. Okay? So your turn. I want you to practice on one. You can use either the stack method or you can use the formula that they used above to do that. Everybody thinks a little bit differently, and you can do it whichever way you want to, but you can refer back to this as many times as you want to get the answers for this, okay? All right, have fun with that, and you can check your answers online. All right, now, next part. Let's see if we have enough time here. I may stop here and move on to, next, we only have 2 minutes to this one, so I'm going to stop here and we're going to do part 2 because this one's going to take a little bit of time to explain. All right, see you in a few minutes.